welcome to Area of a Parallelogram, Trapezium, Triangle and Circle with Cubit Education. In this lecture you will know the formula for the area of a parallelogram, a triangle, a trapezium and a circle, and use the formulas to find the areas of the above shapes. So let's not forget our definition of area then. Area is the amount of space inside a 2D shape, a flat shape, and it always is measured in units squared, so centimetres squared, meters squared, any unit squared, okay? So the first one we're going to look at is the formula for a parallelogram. The formula for a parallelogram is really easy, it's just base times height. So whatever the number is on the bottom, we times that by the perpendicular height. It must be this height, not this one here. This is not the height, this is a length. The height of the shape is this length here, okay? So here's an example of a parallelogram. We have a base of 5 centimetres and a height of 4. Find the area of the parallelogram. So we just need to do 5 times 4, giving us 20. And it's in centimetres squared, remember, because we are doing area. Okay, so pause the video and have a go at a few of these. Some of them might be a bit easy for you. This bottom one here, the problem solving one, you can try that one if you don't want to do all of the others. Okay, if you've paused the video and had a go, the first ones were to find the areas, so I'm hoping you did those quite easily. The second one was to find the missing lengths, which meant that we just had to divide instead. So you would have had to do 24 divided by 6 to give you A, 35 divided by 5 to give you B, 46 divided by 10 to give you C, and 18 divided by 4.5 to give you D. And finally, below illustrates a garden which needs to be seeded with grass. The grass seeds cost £8.50 per packet and covers 15 metres squared. Work out the cost to cover the garden with grass seeds. Okay, so we know that our area is 40 metres squared, which means, so 40 divided by 15 is less than 3. So it's 2 point something. So we'll have to buy 3 packs. 3 packs at £8.50 each is £25.50. So well done if you got that one right. Okay, so next then let's have a look at the area of a trapezium. So the formula, please take notes, for the area of a trapezium is a half times a plus b times h. Now that looks quite confusing, but all that means is that a, which is going to be this measurement, plus b, which is going to be this measurement, we add them together because they're in brackets. We can do that first. We can then times by the height, which is this measurement. And the last thing that I would do is it's saying that you times by half, but times by half is the same as divide by 2. So what I would do here to make it easier for you is I would do A add B equals, and find that answer, then times by h equals, and then just divide by 2 instead of worrying about that's a half. Okay, you're just halving it. So let's have a go at an example. So, find the area of this trapezium. We have a base of 5, the top is 3 and the height is 4. So A is 3 and B is 5. So 5 plus 3 is 8. I would then do 8 times 4. Okay, 8 times 4 is 32. Half that is 16 centimetres squared. So we'll just divide it by 2 last. Okay. So I'm just going to repeat that. A is 3, B is 5, so A is on the top, B is on the bottom. I would add those together first to give you 8. I would then times by the height, which is 4, so 8 times 4, giving you 32. And then this last part, I would do this last, and I would just divide your answer by 2, which would give us 16 centimetres squared. So have a go at these questions, pause the video, and if you want to just try the harder ones, please go for it. Okay, if you had a go, here are your answers. So the top ones, here are your answers for the areas. Okay, the second one is find the missing length, so it could have been a bit trickier. If you did struggle on that one, probably be a good idea to watch the video on rearranging formulas. So here are your answers for those. And find the area of this shape. Now for this one, you would have had to find the area of the whole thing. So 15 times 35. You would have then had to find the area of this shape, and this shape, and take all of that away from your area you got for the big shape. and you should have got 426 centimetres squared. And for the problem solving question, the diagram shows the cross section of a wall of a cinema. It is to be painted. Paint costs £6 for a tin which covers 25 metres squared. How much will it cost to paint? So first of all, we know that the area of the middle section is 130 metres squared, 27 metres squared for the small section, and 64 metres squared for the other side. Now, if you'd found all of that, fantastic, you would have already got marks anyway. If you're in your exam and you don't show working out and get the answer wrong, you get no marks. But if you show working out and get the answer wrong, if you do show working out and you still get the answer wrong, you will get marks. Okay, so in total then, that's 221 metres squared, which is £54. Area of a triangle then now. So, area of a triangle is quite nice. All you need to do, it looks confusing, but again, I would do the base times the height and then just divide by 2. So timesing by a half is exactly the same as dividing by 2. Okay, so you will have base times height and then just divide by 2. Because a triangle is actually half a square. And if you have a square or half a rectangle, and if you have a square or a rectangle, you would just do length times width. However, in this case, because it's actually half of a square or a rectangle, we do length times width, but we half it. And when we write out the formula for a triangle, it's changed it to base times height, which just means the same. So try not to get too confused. So let's have a go at an example. We have a triangle here with a base of 6 and a height of 4. Now, it's also giving us the side length of 5 centimetres, which we don't need, so do not get confused and think you need that. Sometimes they put it in just to trick you. So here is your formula for the area of a triangle. So it's half times base times height. Well, like I said, we do base times height first. So base is 6, height is 4. 6 times 4 is 24. And then the last thing I would do is half it. 24 in half is 12. So your answer should be 12 centimetres squared. Okay, so let's have a look at this example then. The art department are using 4 triangles like this, okay, to make a star for the school Christmas play. So they're taking 4 of these triangles to turn into a star. And we need to find the area of the star first. Well, the area of the star is quite easy because we can just do 12 times 5, okay, then we half it, okay, so 12 times 5 is 60, half that is 30, 30 times 4 is 120, so 12 times 5 is 60, half it because it's a triangle, remember, giving us an area of 30 centimetres squared. 30 centimetres squared times 4 is 120 centimetres squared. And now I'd like you to pause the video and have a go at finding the perimeter of the star. Okay, if you've paused the video and had a go, your perimeter is actually 80 centimetres. So be very careful because here, this measures 5, which means this must measure 7, this measures 13, okay, this must measure 7, 13, 7, 13, and so on. So just be very careful with your adding up, but in total it was 80 centimetres. Okay, so finally now we're going to quickly look at the area and perimeter of a circle. So what you need to know, this is your diameter and this is your radius. Okay, for this section of finding the area and perimeter, this is all I'm going to teach you about properties of a circle. There will be another video on that. But for now, the only 2 things you need to know about the circle is that the measurement from one side to the other, passing through the middle, is the diameter, and the measurement from the middle to the edge is the radius. And the radius is always half of the diameter. Okay, the circle going around, so this actual circle, like the edge of the circle, that's called the circumference. So if we're trying to find the perimeter of a circle, we can call it the circumference. So when we look at circles, we have to use something called pi. And pi is a button on our calculator that we must use. Now, pi is a measurement, and people notice that if you divide the circumference of a circle by the diameter, you will always get the same number. And they call the answer pi, okay, which is this huge long number here that never ends. Okay, you can use the pi button on your calculator, obviously, instead of typing all of that in. So the formula for area of a circle is pi r squared. Pi r squared is basically pi times the radius squared, and squared is times the radius again, basically. So you would have pi times radius times radius. All right, I'll show you how that works in a minute. Here's an example. So remember pi r squared, or pi times the radius squared. So here we have an example where our radius is 7 centimetres. So we need to take our pi and we need to times that by 7 squared. So that means we do pi times 49. So 7 squared is 49. And so we can just do pi times 49. Instead of typing in pi times 7 or pi times 7 and then using your button to put the little squared in, you can just do that 7 squared first and then times it by pi. So pi times 49 is 153.93804, or 153.9 centimetres squared to 1 decimal place. Okay, so let's have a look at another example. Here we have a radius of 5. So we need to do pi times 5 squared. Well, 5 squared is 25, so pi times 25 is 78.55. And that would be centimetres squared, and to 2 decimal places this time. I've just chosen to round to 2 decimal places. If your exam paper does tell you to round, then do it. If not, I would decide on whichever way you want to round yourself. 1, 2 or 3 decimal places, depending on accuracy. Okay, so a final example then. This time we have a circle, but it actually tells us the diameter. The diameter is 18. If the diameter is 18, if you remember what I said at the beginning, it is actually double the radius, so we know the radius must be 9. So we must do pi times 9 squared. Okay, pi times 9 squared, so sorry, this is my fault, putting it in wrong, but the radius is always half, so I'm just reminding you there. So pi times 9 squared this time. 9 squared is 81. Pi times 81 is 254.502, or 254.5 centimetres squared to 1 decimal place. Okay, so finally then, would you like to have a go at some of these questions? Pause the video and I'll give you the answers. Okay, if you've had a go, here are your answers for those questions. All right, I hope you did really well on those. Finding the area is quite easy. In your exam, even though I've written it like this, it will look like this, pi r squared. If they give it to you, they might not even give it to you. And there was an example up here to help you. Okay, so finally, and I keep saying finally, but this is final, we're going to do the circumference. The circumference is basically the perimeter. The perimeter goes all the way around the outside of the circle, but to work this out, we must use our pi button, but this time we times by the diameter. So, example 1. We have a diameter here of 4 centimetres. So all we need to do is pi times the diameter to work out this length all the way around the circle. So that means we would do pi times 4. And pi times 4 is 12.57 centimetres squared. Okay, and that's 2 decimal places. Okay, and one more example then before we finish off. So again, to find the perimeter, so the outside, or we call it the circumference, we must do pi times diameter. Pi times diameter, so in this case, pi on your calculator times by 8. Pi times 8 is 25.14 centimetres to 2 decimal places. Okay, so that's all you've got to do for the circumference. So I hope you found that one quite easy. If you're struggling with using the pi button on your calculator, I will try and put something on this weekend about how to use a calculator, okay? So I hope now you know all those formulas. There was a lot in that video, so you've tried really hard. Please have a go at the questions within the video again if you struggled, and really come to terms with using those formulas on a regular basis, because they're not in the papers anymore. So you really need to learn them. Okay, so well done. Thank you so much for using Cubit Education, and I hope to see you next time.